YouTube. We are now live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's show with Mr. Chris and Felipe on Security Tales. Thank you so much for joining us today. Chris, say hi while I hit my TikTok, and we're going to go live on TikTok today.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. You and your
Juneteenth, man. Celebrate the
Is it Juneteenth? Is that why my staff is calling me, asking me if we're having Juneteenth pay?
Yeah, they're looking for time and a half or something.
That's what it is. They're looking for time and a half today. Well, guys, I hate to tell you, there is no time and a half. Oh my God, do I not know how to do this?
They can work twice as hard if they want.
That's it. Oh my God, I might not be able to do this today because I don't know how to do it. Huh. Oh well. So it looks like we won't go live on TikTok today, but that's all right. That's all right because Felipe really didn't know how to do it anyways. Well, Chris, welcome. It's been a minute since me and you have spoken. Oh, hold on. Mr. McManus is now calling, so hold on. Yes, Mr. McManus, we're on the podcast at this moment. How can I help you?
I can't talk about this
The director of operation can't talk right now, Chris, so I'll call you right back, Brian. Bye. All right. So listen, everyone. So what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Security Tales today. I miss you all, and Cece, I see that you're on. So Tommy Titus, today you should be able to log on because I see Google stuff right now. So welcome, and I hope everyone and pray everyone's well. I'm your host, Felipe, and Chris is over there on the screen, and straight out of Boston. And today we're going to talk about something that's been flying under the radar, but it's real serious. So, first thing, Chris, that I want to touch base on, right? Because Chris thinks I'm crazy. Chris always thinks me with conspiracy and stuff. And I'm not going to start on my conspiracy first thing, though. But I want to talk about something that me and you had spoken to in the beginning, and that was the Doge. Okay? Remember the Doge, Chris?
Yes, I do.
I want you to be prepared about this because I think I did not tell you this, or I sent it to you, but I might have missed it. So I kind of just wanted to tell you the real story and what's flying underneath the radar. But it's real, like to me, like have you noticed such change that has been occurring in the systems and everything since Doge has been implemented?
I haven't noticed any changes affecting me personally.
Okay, neither have I, to be honest with you. But here's the real deal. There's no cost involved in applying, right? So this is what I was looking at. So in order for you to come to this country and this and that, and you're illegal and this and that. So during the era, so what I found through my research is there was no cost involved in applying for an asylum, right? You don't pay to apply for an asylum, correct?
I don't know that definitively. I know when my wife applied for citizenship, there was a cost involved.
Okay, is that citizenship or an asylum?
Citizenship.
Okay, so it's a citizenship. So, wait a minute. Dr. Wong says, can't wait to hear today's podcast. Dr. Wong, thank you so much for joining us today. So, here's the real deal. So I'm going to tell you what happens when you end up doing an asylum thing and what goes on. It's an incentive for inadmissible aliens to file a fraudulent application. And it gets this. Doge's investigations found 1.3 million aliens already on Medicare, Medicaid, and among those, there's a subset who were registered to vote, and some even voted. Like, that's just insane. So underneath being in an asylum, that you're supposed to wait five months in order to apply, you automatically are granted it underneath the Biden administration, the asylum. Then on top of it, your processing now can take up to 3 to 10 years for them to look at you. So right off the bat, I believe Congress needs to step up and make sure U.S. taxpayer benefits go to Americans first. They also got to crack down on this immigration fraud because it's out of control. Elon Musk, Antonio Garcia, and the Doge team blew the lid off how bad it's gotten. how underneath the Biden administrator, folks get asylum, then get a work authorization, then get a social security numbers, then get a driver's license, and then they even get to vote, all without proper oversight. Okay? So I looked into this, I'm looking into this because I wanted to touch back about the Doge, because someone had asked me, you know, the only thing it's doing is causing protests and riots and all these things that are occurring. So I kind of really, I'm going to be honest with you, kind of lost track about it all, and I wasn't really paying attention. And here's the kicker. Under current reg, folks can apply for a work visa. Ready for this one, Chris? 5 months after they file for asylum, not even wait for it to get approved. And since there's no fee to apply, it's like an open door for fraud. DHS then prioritized granted work permits in just a few months, even if the asylum case takes years and years and years. So folks are fraudulently getting work authorization, Social Security, and benefits while their asylums are still pending. Okay? So why I wanted to touch base with that is basically people are always talking about illegals and people that are filing with the asylum. So we have kids, and I shouldn't say kids, but people that are applying for colleges and stuff, and they're saying they're applying it through the asylum. So people need to understand what's going on with this. Hold on, Dr. Wong would like to say something. Yes, Dr. Wong.
You're very echoey and we can't hear Chris.
I'm very echoey and they can't hear you, Chris. How about now, Dr. Wong?
Me, you said?
She's saying I'm very echoey. Am I still echoing?
Yes.
I'm sorry, everybody.
And it's going to let you know it's very echoey and we can't hear Chris.
I do apologize. Hold on 1 second. I am trying to fix the echoey.
I have to.
All right. How's that sound?
I have to hang up the phone. And
Okay.
listen to you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. There we go. There we go. I do apologize for that, everyone. But let's just go back for a second. So what I wanted to discuss was basically it takes 5 months for that and this and that. This system was meant to protect these prosecuted, but it's being exploited. It's flooding the system with illegitimate claims, and DHS can't keep up. They've even finalized a new rule in December of 2024 to extend work authorization automatically from 6 to 18 months. No questions asked. So no comment on that, Chris, so far?
I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's unbelievable. I think it's part of the bigger picture. I'm a conspiracy guy. You think you know that, but I think it's part of the bigger picture about getting as many people in here as you can, getting them the right to work, the right to vote, the right to drive a car, and to swing votes their way. Because who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for the person who got you here, right? Which is logical. But the asylum seeking is kind of a blanket thing, which I think is wrong. If you're seeking asylum, that's fine. You should be seeking asylum waiting to come in. And then, when it's granted or whatever, then you come in, not you come in and wait 10 years. And the asylum thing is kind of a scam, because it's like saying I have a headache. It's like nobody can prove it, nobody can disprove it. I'm seeking asylum from persecution, and it's just like a blanket thing where anybody can come in, wait 10 years until maybe you have a hearing. So it's kind of like you should be waiting outside, not inside, and then you come here to work. I mean, look what Massachusetts has done. I believe in the last election, I think we voted for it, unfortunately, gave the illegals the right to get a license.
Yeah. Now here's the sad part. So it's funny you brought that up. I wanted to bring it into another level. So did you know, and these are staggering numbers, Chris, because you just said something. So I looked up to see numbers. So this is basically FY 21, the year 2021. There was 270,000 Social Security numbers issued. In 2022, there was 590,000 issued. In 2023, nearly 1 million. Then at the tail end of the push, when administration started changing, which was 2024, there was 2.1 million. The Social Security Administration mails these numbers out automatically. No identity, no interviews, just max inclusion, minimal collection. That's what I found out. So Doge's investigation found 1.3 million aliens already receiving Medicaid, and among them, some registered to vote, with some even voted. This is the result of a broken system, and Congress needs to step in. Take back control and restore the integrity of our immigration laws. You know, so because I know when me and you first started this thing, and we said we're going to do it for fun, and, you know, me, I get caught up in all you consider conspiracy, I consider it real life ventures, which we're going to bring in a little while. But I know we kept talking about this Doge thing and what was going on. So what do you got to say, bro?
I think it's, I think, you know, again, not a conspiracy guy, but I think it's part of the bigger conspiracy to get more voters in, which will get you more electoral votes. For example, look how many electoral votes California has. And it's part of the bigger thing. And if you notice, when you watch TV, I don't really follow it, but you can't help it. But, you know, when they knew that Trump was potentially going to win, or there could be a potential change of leadership, that, you know, immigration was way more. And for example, if 4 years from now, and if Trump is out and another Harris or another type of Democrat like that, there'll be a mass influx again. You know, as soon as she gets elected, there'll be a mass influx again, because the borders will be wide open. But, you know, whatever you see on the news, the facts are the facts. That I have a couple Border Patrol agent friends who said that, it is true. 95% of what we do is gone, you know, so it has made a substantial difference.
Absolutely. I feel we got to make sure that the benefits go on to those who earn them, and the asylum is used for its true purpose. Okay? Protecting the people from prosecution, not as a loophole for fraud. Congress should pass laws and prevent folks from getting work authorizations until their asylums are approved. Absolutely. I don't see the reason why you would approve it without it. Okay? And implement anti-fraud measures to cut down any bogus claims, okay? And Doge can help out with reviewing these applications, cutting down the backlog, and making sure the benefits are only given to those who deserve them. Plus, we need automatic notification to shut down benefits when somebody application gets denied or revoked. So no more benefits for the folks who shouldn't have them, and no more loopholes. If we act now, we can cut down the illegal alien population and make sure our benefits go to Americans first and get this system back on track. That's what we're about, protecting our country and our benefits and our future. So, Chris, how would you end that little entail? Because I wanted to end it by saying something else.
A lot of great ideas. Implementation will be difficult. I 100% agree with all that. I 100% agree with if you're getting an EBT card, you should be drug tested. If you're getting an EBT card, you should be an American citizen. You should only be able to spend it on certain things. You shouldn't be able to spend it on alcohol. You shouldn't be able to get cash back. I was in line the other day at Stop and Shop. It was late at night, and I was grabbing something, and I heard this guy behind me, and they had to get the supervisor over because, you know, he bought like a candy bar, and he wanted fucking cash back on his EBT card. You know
what?
Yeah.
So wait a minute. I'm familiar with what an EBT card is, but I always thought that an EBT card is obviously you can only purchase on it what's allowed to be purchased, which is groceries and things like that. Like you can't go buy scratch tickets and candy bars.
well, they haven't, I don't know about scratch tickets, but they haven't stopped them, people buying crappy food. That's been talked about, but they can still buy candy bars because it's bought at a supermarket.
But do you get cash back on an EBT?
That's what this guy was. I think he ended up getting it because he was arguing with the cashier, and then the cashier had to bring over like the assistant manager. And I didn't hear the resolution, but he was trying to get cash back on it. But at the end of the day, the person at the supermarket probably doesn't care, and it shouldn't be given for anything like that. And 100%, I agree that they should be drug tested. They should American citizens only. And while you're waiting, you should be waiting outside while your asylum gets approved, and that's the only way you're going to slow down the system. We approve whoever, which is fine. I have no say in that, but you wait, and then you get approved, and then you come in.
Absolutely.
And you work here for 10 years. I mean, I know I bring it up every time, but my hotel in my nice little town is still packed full of people, and they don't even have the hotel sign out. It's completely filled with illegals, an entire hotel.
And they all got like Escalades and Mercedes and all that. I remember you would tell me that.
The parking lot used to be empty when they first got here for 6 months. It's been over a year now, and the parking lot's full.
Oh my God!
And the car I drive, they're driving nicer cars than me.
Well,
that's not hard.
Well, but one of the things that I kind of, because I know, me and you were going back and forth because of me with my conspiracy stuff and all this, which you believe it's one thing, I believe it's another thing, which is great because I think that's what makes such a good podcast, where there's arguments and some little disruption. But one of the things that really, maybe I've been miseducated or misinformed, but I don't like, it's funny when people say, well, where do you get your information? First, I go to books. So if there's something I show interest in, I will go to a library and open up stuff on my phone, go to that library, open it up and read stuff about it first. Then I research it on the internet. Then I go back to the book for validation and things like that before I do something. And one of the biggest things is when I said I wanted to talk about Doge and the person really got upset about it, is everyone needs to understand something. I'm doing this because I wanted to do it and have fun doing it and have a second time. And Chris just retired from the department. Like I said, he's a childhood friend. And I asked him, let's have some fun. We both got some time in the middle of the day. Let's have some fun and do this. At no time am I here to argue with you about a situation or a cause that you have another belief in. I think everyone, if we all thought the same, then this world would be not such a great world. So I value that, we don't agree on things, but at no time do I want to argue with you. But Chris, one of the things that he said to me that threw me off, that, from when I was a kid, from history books and everything I read, who built this country?
People from everywhere, I guess, if that's people from a lot of it, and I'm not singling out somebody, but a lot of Italian, Irish, and Europeans initially.
Okay. So here's my arguments for this. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how to write this and how to really say it. Because I'm not trying to piss off anyone, but I feel you're absolutely wrong. So I think the founders of America, the next time that someone wants to talk to you about something really important, the founders of this country, right? They were no immigrants. They were settlers, okay? Not at the start anyways. America was built by settlers. People who came here took the land and built something from scratch. Immigrants came later. Yeah, okay? They helped grow and enrich the country, but that was already here. But the foundation of America, the real core, was laid by those settlers. They went west. They took the land that was unclaimed and they built a new society from the ground up. So I want to just say, keep it straight. America wasn't just a land of immigrants. It was a land built by settlers. And that's what made us who we are and where we are. Okay? Now I know to you, now if you go back in your history books and really search and look at it, it actually validates it. But everyone's going to say, most likely you, That's a lie. It was built by immigrants. So this country was non-existent until immigrants all came and said, hey, let's just capitalize and there's a country, we'll build it. That's not the truth. It was built by settlers.
Well,
So
no, I think it's just not a play, a little bit of a play with words, is a little bit of a difference here. I believe, you calling them settlers, which is fine. I don't disagree with that. But back, 200 years ago, 250 years ago, we needed people. And like I said, people friggin' went, they had bare land and, they made something of it. So they made something of it. They did something. They took nothing and turned it into something. Whereas, let's call them the immigrants or whatever you want to call them, the immigrants are, coming and taking advantage of a system. And let's not forget, the Constitution is a friggin' unbelievable piece of paper, and the guys who wrote it were extremely intelligent, but things have changed, i.e. you come to America, you're illegal, but your child who's born here is automatically illegal, even if you're illegal. But back then there were no rules and things were different. And like I said, people came here to settle, to take dirt and make something of it. Whereas they're coming here to, to whatever, take, granted, I'm not saying a lot work, but a lot don't. I mean, why don't the immigrants come and settle North Dakota? We'll give them North Dakota.
Why don't they?
Yeah.
Right? Explain that to me.
Right. And then we'll call them settlers.
Okay.
Because I think North Dakota, it's gigantic. It has a population of like 600,000.
I don't think it's a place I want to go. I'm all set.
Well, why do you think we're giving it?
I'm Cali, baby. I'm going to be a Cali boy. Cali, here I come. Hey, so listen, obviously, people that are on right now, no one has a comment for that. So now I'm going to move on. So I want to prepare Chris, because I know Chris once again doesn't believe in my flat earth theory or the moon. And I'm still going to debate and argue this until I'm buried and dead. So, Chris, prepare. I'm going to move on to the Titanic at this time.
All right, good, because you never told me about Doge, but I think I did okay.
You did great. And you're right, I did. That's what I said. I said, I think I left that one out. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, shit, did I leave it out? I might have left it out. But we've already talked about Doge. I was just updating about what was going on. So listen, everyone. All right, now, you ready? You stretched out for this? Chris, you're looking awfully thin there. You okay?
I'm kind of scared.
Do you need me to donate some food? You good?
No, I'm good, but I'm sitting here with no pants on, so I can't stand up.
Yeah, well, do me a favor, don't. So, here's an interesting history stuff. Now, Chris, you're sitting there at home and you're at your desk, get your computer going, look over and talk about this, because we're going to kick it with a little Boston flair and style. I got to take a deep breath, get ready to hear my thoughts and processes and things that I came up with, Chris. All right, here's something that's pretty interesting. History that's got some real deep roots. And it's not just a coincidence, I tell you. Not a coincidence, Chris, because Chris thinks I'm batty. Did you know that the Titanic, that famous ship, was tied to some of the biggest oppositions to the Federal Reserve? Am I wrong or right, Chris?
Well, I'll say you're right, just so.
Okay. Okay, so I know you want to move on with this.
Yeah.
There was the three of the richest men in the world, the richest men. Now, Chris, I'm going to say this very slow so you can look at it. Benjamin Guggenheim. Okay, Guggenheim. Do you want the spelling?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Strauss and John Jacob Astor, the two brothers, all died on that ship in 1912. Now, Chris, get this, bro. Get this. They were all publicly opposed to the creation of the Fed. Okay? They had the power to stop the whole banking system we have today. But none of them made it off that ship alive. So, Chris, I know you want to argue about it and say it. Am I not telling the truth right there?
Okay, I'll go with that.
Okay, I'm going to move on. That way, I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end because it's not really that big. Meanwhile, so you ready, Chris?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I wish I had like a picture board or something that pops up where I can blacken it out and show pictures and go, we're gonna move on to that. We're still fixing this crap. Meanwhile, the guy who funded the Titanic's construction, and guess who it was, Chris?
Rockefeller?
No. J.P. Morgan was one of the biggest supporters of the Federal Reserve. Okay? J.P. Morgan's, who funded the construction, was one of the biggest supporters for the Federal Reserve. Supposedly, he was supposed to be on that ship, but he canceled at the last minute. No reason, no explanation, and he lived. Okay, once again, it's my conspiracy thought. This is me thinking. Okay, strange. People that didn't want the Federal Reserve to occur and happen are on the ship. All four of them were supposed to be on the ship. The person that wanted it decided not to be on the ship. Okay, and here's the kicker: a year later, okay, look it up, Chris. I looked it up. A year later, the Federal Reserve Act gets passed, and the opposition is conveniently gone. It's like they wiped out the biggest guys who could have stopped it. But it gets even crazier. The Titanic wasn't even the Titanic. So from when I'm researching and looking, once again, my words, it was actually the RMS Olympic. And you know what that is, right? The other one that they made the copy of the Titanic, okay? And it was called the RMS Olympic. So I believe they swapped out in a huge insurance scam the wreck at the bottom of the ocean, and it doesn't even match the Titanic's design. Different windows, layouts, all off, almost like it was a different ship. So was it just an accident, or was it one of the most elaborate setup financial history? So now I've opened it up to you, Chris. So now you can nitpick everything I said.
All right. So, did they hit the iceberg on purpose, or did they blow up the ship on the inside? How did it sink? I guess
I believe they never. Okay, so now what you got to do is this. What are those ships that go into the ocean now that cuts through the ice? Ice cutters, icebreakers, or whatever. So that ship was built the same way, Chris. So you're telling me these things can break through those, but not this Titanic, the most indestructible ships ever built, and it hits in a glacier, or what is it? I'm sorry, was it a glacier? Iceberg, and it actually collapsed the ship and drowns it. I believe it was imploded from the inside. I believe it had a weak side of it. And possibly, I'll be honest with you, I can come back to you with that because I didn't actually look into that part of it. I was looking at more because it was financial and I was thinking more money-wise, but I believe it was all set up. I absolutely do.
All right, so let's use a couple tidbits I'll throw out. So, the other ship was a duplicate of the Titanic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it was a duplicate of the Titanic, why was anything different?
Because it was the first model. It was the first model made, so the windows are smaller on that ship. That's what the basically, if you looked at it, that was just a model of a ship. It wasn't actually supposed to be made for the wealthy to tour on. It was, and I believe it was shipped. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so just little tidbits here.
Yeah.
So if they didn't really hit an iceberg, so the reason why the problem with the iceberg is that I can't remember. I believe 80 or 90% of an iceberg is underwater. So what they did is they hit the iceberg at kind of a glancing blow, which kind of ripped open the side. And if there was in fact because let's face it, it's either the iceberg or something along the lines of an explosion. I can't think of another way to sink a ship. So the explosion would come from the inside. And if there was an explosion from the inside of the ship, wouldn't some of the many survivors have heard the boom and then and then something else happening?
I thought they did though. I thought they heard something blow, which they thought was a generator, which we can look into. But I thought they did hear something impact below, not like a strike. They heard something like a boom.
Right. Well, I never heard of that, but because I'm looking up some quick facts, 700 people actually survived, so there's a significant amount of witnesses. And you know, who's gonna blow up the ship and risk their life for, you know, for this?
No one said it was blown up by someone there that's willing to risk their life. Would you jump on a boat knowing, unless you're a suicide person? I think it was something that was manufactured and that was done internally, and nobody knew it was going to happen.
Remember the technology of bombs and ships and everything else. We're talking like 1912.
Yeah, and look at the construction in ancient times. How do you explain that? All these buildings and stuff that you can't even make now with digitalized drills. So come on, Chris, look at
the ships from 1912. They're pretty freaking barbaric. You know, look at, you know, the military, the tanks that we had. But I think, you know, and it depends on how many hulls it had, and I don't know. I just I can't get behind that. I did notice that you are right on the Federal Reserve was formed 20 months after the sinking of the ship, so I'll give you that one.
So will you give me that there was the 3 wealthiest guys in the world were on that ship? Would you give me that J.P. Morgan, who constructed it, was supposed to be on that ship and then mysteriously did not go? Will you give me at least that much?
I'm trying to find the wealthiest people, but I'm actually looking at that right now.
Well, if you look at it at the time,
there's a lot of wealthy people.
well, not like Guggenheim, not like the Ash Store. You know, Macy's was like, wasn't the owners of Macy's on it? They weren't as wealthy as them. You know,
I did actually just see something about Astor. He died, right?
Yeah, him and his brother John.
I find very unusual.
John and Jacob.
They'd be the first ones on the boat.
Well, they died. So what happened? Did they do the honorable thing as gentlemen and let everyone else go? Because that's what you read about a lot. That the wealthy people risked their lives and stated other people who should leave first.
Yeah, whether or not it was, I did hear, and I think this is factual, that a lot of the lifeboats were pushed off, not full, which contributed to a lot of the deaths.
Okay. Well, once again, if I had a board, I would have to put more check marks on my side. Obviously, I think I won that story.
I don't think so. You're saying, when you say one, you're saying that the Titanic was a conspiracy and somebody.
No. I'm not saying that Titanic was a conspiracy. I am saying what occurred is a conspiracy. So what I think is the law of average worked to success for someone else. So now because you built this, and now you said, oh, wait, we're having this meeting about this whole Federal Reserve stuff, and these people that knew about it were like, nah, I'm against that. We're not going to have this and that. So now they said, oh, we'll all go on the boat together and come over to America or wherever they were going to meet. And then I think it all came into play then. That's what I believe.
Is I don't know if you believe in snoops, but
somewhat. I always investigate snoops.
Okay, the sinking of the Titanic was somehow orchestrated by a foreign American financier, J.P. Morgan, in order to kill 3 prominent businessmen who opposed the formation of the Federal Reserve. Snoop says false.
Yeah, like I said, I go behind, snoop at some of it, and then I research it and look. So to me, I researched it and I looked, I found it out, and then I put together my own power play, and that's what I believe.
All right, so let's get back to the fact that you think you won this one, because I can't just let that lie. So you're saying that it was a conspiracy.
Yes.
That it wasn't really the Titanic that sank.
Yes.
Right. And that it was all orchestrated.
Yes.
Let's go with this, whether they hit the iceberg on purpose or they blew it up from inside. We'll give you that. That it was all orchestrated to kill these 3 business people. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. No, you didn't look. No, sorry, you didn't.
And listen, I'm gonna say that's what I'm gonna say. But here's my question: since you're sitting in front of the computer, where is the RMS Olympic boat now, or where was it after?
RMS Olympic.
Yeah, which is the second ship that they bought, like the one that they made to match the Titanic. Where is that boat?
We're in thereabouts. How about that? It says Olympic had a career spanning 24 years from 1911 to 1935, in contrast to its short-lived sister ship, the Titanic. So they're saying it was in operation from 1911 to 1935. So therefore, for your thing to be right, that would have to mean that that the Olympic was sunk, and for 24 years the Titanic was in operation.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because J.P. Morgan threw so much money into that ship that he didn't want to sink it. So he used the RMS Olympic, which was made but not as identical as the Titanic. So see, I didn't even say it, and you already brought my world in. Food for thought. Food for thought. That's all I gotta say. Food for thought. All right, so we're gonna move on to my next thing. So my next thing is I'd like to talk about the Rockefeller and the dark side of it. Okay? So Chris, you got your Google on? Anybody that's on the little YouTube thing wants to write, because I'm gonna go hardcore on this one. You ready, Chris?
I'm ready.
Let's talk about one guy who single-handedly changed the game. Okay? Or some, like you, would say, no, someone like me, I should say, not you, destroyed America. His name was John Rockefeller. Chris, do you know who John Rockefeller is?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me who John Rockefeller is?
John Rockefeller was a ruthless businessman who also gave back to the world. He had some good sides, but he was a ruthless businessman who made billions of dollars in the oil and several other industries.
Oil, petroleum, and those type of things, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as long as we both know who he is. So now I want to touch base. It all started in 1863, Chris. 1863. I want you to make sure you keep your eyes glued to your computer while you type. When he kicked off, Standard Oil was his first company he owned. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. As long as we're agreeing. Within just 3 years, by 1870, he was the biggest oil company in the world by 1872. Okay? He bought out all the major competitors, controlling about 90% of all oil. 90%, Chris, of all oil in the U.S.
Good for him.
Right? Good for him. Amazing, right? How did he do that? Over the years, his net worth, you ready? We're talking, dude, 1872. So imagine what his net worth would be now. How much was his net worth then, Chris?
Billions.
No, Chris. Come on. Cece's not validating me, but she said she has read that a lot of people have said that it wasn't the Titanic. But thank you, Cece. You're supposed to say you believe it. So listen, over the years, he shot up to over 500 billion. Yeah, billions, Chris, in 1872. I can't even tell you what that net worth would be now. Could you take a great guess at that?
Well, just because somebody's successful, let's not shoot him down.
No, Chris, I'm not shooting him down for that at all. What I'm saying is, I find that amazing at that time of year.
Right, and let's keep in mind too. Yes, he did have a monopoly, and he did buy up everybody, and he did all this stuff, and he was a ruthless businessman. But in 1865, 1872, 1890, there was no such thing as monopoly practices and this, that, and the other thing. So, that's why he was able to take advantage. All that monopoly stuff hasn't existed for a long time, but buying up your competitors, that's smart.
Okay. All right, I don't get a problem with that, but he's making him, it's making him the richest man in American history. But Chris, this is where it gets freaking dark as shit, bro. Let's get into the real stuff and the hidden stuff. So as I was researching, over the years, his net worth shot up to over 500 million, right? Just remember, this is the same guy who wanted to keep them sick, keep them confused, and keep them under control. We got to see what's really happening here. I'm talking about how they use science and technology against us. Soft metals, sedatives in food and water, even the air we breathe. Poison everywhere, making folks lose their minds while Rockefeller's media and pharmaceutical industry control the narrative. They bought up to the medical industry. They controlled the education. He controlled of what we believe is health. It's all petroleum-based chemicals now. They even took over, or I should say he even took over natural medicine, stuff that people use for thousands of years, and replaced it with additives, drugs made from petroleum. And get this, Chris, they bought out a German pharmaceutical company that made chemicals used in Hitler's war machines called, look it up, IG Farben. Am I saying it right, Farben? RG Farben. That's no coincidence. Rockefeller's influence on medical industry, the media, and even politics is all interconnected. The American Medical Association controlled. I'm asking. So while you're researching, do you believe it's controlled? You know, they crucified doctors who tried to speak out. They stripped them of their licenses just for telling the truth. And the same logo you see in the drug industry. Guess what? It's the same as the one they found at the Federal Reserve.
Okay, well, you gotta put this in context. I mean, 18.
Thank you, Cece. Thank you, Cece. Thank you, Wyatt.
No, what did they know about medicine? Not much.
Who?
Doctors.
Well, here's the thing. Back centuries ago, when we're talking about the 1800s, it wasn't about medicine, it was herbs. They were finding herbs, plants-based and stuff like that. They weren't calling it medicine, they were calling it medicinal. So now these things were healing, like, oh my God, you know, you're not feeling well, cut the orange peel, boil it on top, put a shot of whiskey on it, it's gonna help you recover. Then what he started realizing was his oil and his petroleum and everything was starting to collapse. And then he decided to basically intercede this and say, that's fake. So he bought the newspaper and started publicizing fake news about don't believe these doctors. Almost, and if you think about it, Chris, and the only reason why I wanted to discuss that, if you really look at it, it's almost like the COVID times, brother. If you remember some of the doctors that fought against it and said, no, do not take these shots. What happened to them?
Right. And so look at it, from 150 years later, they're still screwing us.
Yeah, and I think he's the person that started it all. This is what I'm trying to say. He was the first, Chris, to bring additives to. He was the first to bring that. He was the first person that started bringing additives and oils and stuff into medicine. Me and you spoke, Chris. What was it? Glycol.
They're still there.
Okay, yeah, explain to me. Glycol wasn't in it before his time. Think about it. Research it.
So how can you blame him back 150 years ago putting oil in there because they probably didn't know any better, and now in current times they're still putting oil and friggin' glycol in our friggin' medication. So,
like I said, it's a conspiracy, bro.
They know better now. They didn't know better.
No. We don't know better now. We're still sheeps. We're still sheeps, bro. There's the correct people will fight against it and will not do all these substances and stuff. Look, even me and you, when we've gotten older, some of the products that we used to take, we no longer take. Remember all the whey proteins and stuff that we used to take, and then we found out there was sawdust in them to use as fillers? We didn't know that. I remember weed products, they got taken off the shelf because of some stuff that was going on with it. So remember all the stuff that now we're starting to notice, we weren't noticing because we were children and we weren't paying so much attention.
Right. So tell me why they're still putting glycol on our freaking medication.
Because I think it's still controlled by wealth, like it or not, until people. Do you believe that we're set up by the government to die? Do you think this world's overpopulated and they designed means to take us down little by little?
No.
So
And I don't believe there's another theory out there that the world should only have, what is it, 500 million people in it, and that they're going to kill off the rest of us. And
how many people are in the world total? Isn't it like 70 billion?
No, it's like about 7 billion right now.
Okay, so we have 7 billion people on this earth right now, and now more and more people living until 100 years old.
Yeah. But some of those people out there believe that there should only be like 500 million people in the world, and the rest are too many. But look, as far as the medication is, you don't have to tell me, because I was basically at my job, I was confronted with, they wanted me to take the COVID shot, and I didn't want to take it. And it got to a point after, I don't know, a month or two, and they gave me a date. They basically said, whatever, for example, June 25th. You don't get the shot by June 25th, you're fired. Not like we're going to punish you, not like we're going to spank you. You're just fired. And that's the way it is. And, I got it. And I actually knew a guy, I was friends with a guy who, in the military, so in the military, you get a lot of shots. And a lot of the shots have glycol in it. And when he got his shot in the military that had the glycol in it, he almost died. They had to resuscitate him. I mean, it was bad. And, he said, look, I got evidence, I'm allergic to glycol. I got doctor's notes. I got this, I got that. And I almost died when I had a shot. And they said, they don't care.
So look at that, Chris. Really think about that. Your body's your body. But now you're controlled, and you signed on something to protect society, to protect the people. And now, because you stated, I'm not going to take that vaccine, they said, okay. And how many years did you get for service before this occurred and happened? How many years did you have in?
Probably 20.
20 goddamn years you gave to this department, and they said to you, take this shot or you're fired.
Yep.
Now look. Is it mandatory to take now to be a state trooper?
Nope.
Right? Isn't it strange? How many years later?
Yeah, it just all kind of disappeared.
No, but how many years later from COVID? 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, it took about 3 years.
So it took 3 years that could have ruined your life, that you gave 20 years of your life in dedication to, and you were a great state trooper, investigator, you climbed up the ladder, retired as what, a lieutenant?
Yeah.
Retired as a lieutenant and everything, where they were willing to drop you without even thinking twice over a shot that is no longer mandatory to do. And which, once again, one of my conspiracy thoughts, because I know a lot of officers that passed that didn't have any cardiomyopathy or any type of heart thing, and then after they got the shot, they started dropping like flies. Certain people, I've known 3 people after a shot that died that were on the department that were mandatory to take it. So my thought is, does it have an effect on it? Absolutely. I can't validate what other people think, but what I'm telling you is, you were ordered to do something, and now all of a sudden you're not ordered to do it anymore. Anyone can get on anymore. So
yeah, your buddy who remember the buddy who at the Halloween party dressed up like a woman?
Yes. Yeah, your buddy. You introduced me to that freak.
He walked away. He quit.
He gave up his career for it, right?
Yeah, at like 21 years. So he could have gotten another promotion. I'm sure he could have made lieutenant. I'm sure he could have maxed out. He lost 4 years of in-service, which is like, I don't know, like 15%. So he probably lost 35, 40% of his pension, not to mention the income that he was making at the time. He had such a strong belief, and it's crazy, but he had such a strong belief that he probably gave up 35% of his pension, and he'd probably still be working today. And he was working at the airport where, let's be honest, those guys are making bank. He could have been making the last 5 years making over 300 grand a year.
But so you're picking that over your own decision of your own body to take it. So I'll tell you something, Chris. During the COVID time, a lot of stuff happened. I got offered 3 major contracts. I have some staff that took the COVID shot, and I have some staff that didn't. And I can tell you, if I took these contracts, they're unbelievable. It really, like the staff and I would have been very well. But they said a magic word. They said that I need to make sure every one of my staff individual has their COVID shot. My comment back is I will provide individuals that have the COVID shot if they want the COVID shot. But I am not making it mandated for the hiring process for me to make sure that they have it. But you're my client. I could see if I could have the staff. Probably 70% of my staff weren't COVID vaccinated when I asked. And they didn't have to tell me. They just said, no, Felipe, you know what? Nah, I can't take that position. I'm not vaccinated. I said, okay, no problem. Am I fired? No, absolutely. You stay where you stay. This is another contract. And I told them, and they dropped me and moved over to a bigger company. But I would never force anybody to do something. I don't own anyone's body, nor will I be that person that laid down that sword to tell you that you need to do that.
No, my decision was based on my family. I knew I couldn't walk away from it. I couldn't, I wouldn't be able to support my family. I wouldn't be able to send my kids to college. I wouldn't be able to this. I wouldn't be able to that. So yes, was it when it came down to it, it was, supporting my family over my own well-being. So I had to do it.
But Chris, do you disagree? It's hard to support your family if you're dead. So God bless you're in good shape and you're healthy. But now, what if something comes back laterally later on in life? What happens when you're gone? What happens if something comes back to this and says, well, if you didn't get it, you would have lived?
Well, in hindsight, I still would have had to take it because, it's the money. I can't give up my pension, this, that, the other thing. But my buddy Craig, who is still waiting for his lawsuit, and he's gotten nothing from it. I wouldn't have been able to support my family. And I looked at it this way. Look, I get paid, whatever, let's say $50 an hour, whatever it is. I risk my life every day for freaking $50 an hour. So unfortunately, my life's worth $50 an hour, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and that's shameful.
Yeah, well, but when I pull over, when you run out of gas in the high-speed lane of 93 because you're an idiot and you don't pull over and you run out of gas because you're an idiot, and I come up behind, I see you, I come up behind you, I have to put my car in the way so that you, the idiot, doesn't get hurt. So I'm just risking my life for something as mundane as that because you can't look at your gas gauge. So I guess a shot in the bigger picture is not a big deal.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have to do it. Hey, I fought to the end.
I remember us having that conversation.
The day before I was fired, I even got a hearing. I gave everybody a hearing. If you didn't want to take the shot, come in. We'll listen to you. And it was a major who was going to do whatever the department told him to do, and a person from HR listened to what I had to say. I had this whole skit written out. I actually put some real effort into it, and about what I believed and what I researched. And they listened to what I said, and they said, mine was religious beliefs and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, we don't think you're religious enough, so no, you gotta get denied.
How do you base you're not religious enough? I'm kind of confused with that.
It didn't matter what you were gonna say. I knew one person, and he knew some people like everybody else, but I knew one person who got out of taking the shot. And he said it was medical, never told anybody it was medical, but he went out and hired a freaking attorney. I only know one person who got out of taking the shot, and I believe he's still working.
Oh, good for him. He fought until it ended. I know me because I'm on blood thinners. My first doctor told me don't take it. And then it's funny, after he retired, then my new doctor says, oh, you need to take the COVID shot. And I thought that was so strange. It went from one no, and then the other one said yeah. But because I'm on blood thinners, I guess it interacts something to do with clotting, and I shouldn't take it. So I thought that was strange. I wasn't going to take it anyways.
Well, the guy with glycol fought it, but he was represented by the union. Eventually won it, but it was like they were ready to fire him.
But after he already had the first shot.
Yeah, and I know another guy who this guy's a moose. He's my classmate. He's a friggin' moose. He was a D1 lineman. The guy was phenomenal. shape, but he took the first shot. He tells a story. He's told me the story like 10 times. It's always the same. He took the first shot, hung around for an hour, was driving home. He's like, I'm driving home. I see a blinking yellow light because I'm going through a school zone. I'm doing under 20 miles per hour. Thank God he's going through a school zone. And then he wakes up with somebody knocking on his window. He passed out and had a head-on collision with another car.
Damn.
And guess what? That was after the first shot. And so this all happened. He was out of work for 2-3 months. They think they're like, no, it wasn't an alert reaction to the shot. You had a stroke, you had this, you had that. They were trying to not fire him, but retire him medically. And he fought it. And then finally he got his job back, or got his full-time job back. But you know what they did? Yeah, you got to get the second shot.
Oh, Jesus.
They made him get the second shot. Even after passing out and having a head-on collision.
Jesus.
That's our boy Baker.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're gonna move on from my Rockefeller thing, and I still think I won that. Now, lastly, this is not even a conspiracy, Chris. This is just something which I have a problem with this word similarities. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Mother, see this? That's what happens when you marry a smart person. She always corrects me and says, "Honey, this is how you say it." That's a big word. How many vowels is that? No, how many vowels? 5? Similarity. Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Freaking A. My wife thinks I can't go past 3. I guess I proved her wrong.
There you go.
So listen, this is my crazy coincidence that I was researching. And it's about Lincoln and Kennedy. And I've been seeing it popping up everywhere. So I'm like, damn, I want to talk about that. All right, listen to this, Chris. Get ready for this, bro. Get ready. I find this exciting, and I want to end the show with this one. Unless Chris wants to talk about something else. But I'm going to end my portion with this. All right, so listen to this. I got to talk about something that's just too wild to be a coincidence. For me, way too wild. Okay, it's about Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. The parallels are uncanny, bro. Uncanny, I swear. Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846, correct? You want to validate me?
No, I'll say you're right.
Okay, so you're going to validate. Kennedy was elected to Congress exactly 100 years later in 1946. Okay? So then Lincoln was elected president in 1860. And guess when Kennedy was, Chris?
1960.
Boom. Both at the same age. Ready for the weirdness, bro? Both at the same age, both in the same year. Right? So
well, let me just throw a tidbit in there. Keeping in mind that the presidency is only every 4 years, so it's not like it's every year. So
I know, but it's just, if you look at it, Chris, you're talking about 2 different times and 2 different people. It's strange. Okay? So you gotta listen to this though, because I know you guys are, every year, elections. Okay. All right, thank you. Both guys cared a lot about the civil rights. And I know you had said something earlier to me. So both of them didn't believe in civil rights, Chris?
I believe they both did, yes.
Okay, I thought, my apologies, I thought you said no. Okay. Now here's the kicker, and this is the sad part. And both their wives lost a child while they were staying in the White House. Okay? That's uncanny so far. Both of them, bro.
A living child or like a miscarriage? Because it's a little bit different.
I think a living child both died in the White House. I think that's what it is. But please research it, because I that part I didn't really. I just saw lost child, and I really don't like to look into stuff like that, to be honest. But both presidents got shot on what day, Chris?
I don't know. I'll give you
Friday.
Go for it.
Friday, bro. Friday, Chris. Friday.
All right. I've
Guess-
got some facts to support
Hold on.
your theory, but go ahead.
Guess where they got shot, Chris?
Both. I'll give you both. Well, in the Lincoln Theater.
No. Not where. On themselves.
In the back of the head.
In the head. No less, bro. Exactly. Thank you. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. And Kennedy's secretary was named what?
I don't know.
Lincoln.
Okay.
Both were assassinated by Southerners. And both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson, Lincoln's successor. Andrew Johnson was born in 1808. Kennedy's successor was Lyndon Johnson, was born exactly 100 years later in 1908. Right? The guys who shot them, Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth. I was giving you that open. And he was born in 1839. Kennedy was shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. And he was born when, Chris?
100 years later.
Yes, 1939. Both of their names are so similar, it's almost creepy, bro. Okay?
Let me help you for a sec. I don't know if you have this one, but
go ahead.
Both assassins have 15 letters in their names.
That I didn't know. Are you joking with me or are you playing?
No, that's true.
Oh, okay. See? That's something I didn't know. But you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Lincoln was shot in a theater called what?
Was it Ford Theater?
Yep. Ford. No, you're right. Ford Theater. And Oswald ran to the warehouse after. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and the assassin ran to a theater. And get this, Lincoln was in Monroe, Maryland, a week before he was shot. Kennedy, he was with Marilyn Monroe in California just a week before he got shot. It's like everything about these two guys mirror each other. The dates, the location, the names, even circumstances. I mean, it's hard to believe it's just a coincidence, right? There's got to be something more going on here. Once again, one of my conspiracy things, there was nothing conspiracy about it. I was just bringing up that what a coincidence. And all 100 years apart, bro. In almost...
I want to help you too. I think you did say this one, that both were succeeded by vice presidents named Johnson.
Yep,
right?
Yep.
Said 15 letters, shot Lincoln.
See, the 15 letters I didn't know.
Yeah, wait, I have another good one. Vice presidents. Oh wait, both were succeeded by Johnson, but they were born 100 years apart. But then the other tidbit, both of them whom had 13 letters in their names, and both had 2 daughters.
So how did they die? How did Lincoln and Kennedy's children die? Didn't Kennedy's die because he had a fever or something like that, I believe?
I didn't find that one yet.
I think it was the flu or something. I just don't recall Lincoln's.
And then, let's see, this is an easy one, but Lincoln and Kennedy both had 7 letters in their names. Both of them were sitting beside their wives when they got shot, and both wives didn't get injured. The secretary thing is in here. Vice presidents. Both were related to U.S. Senator, Attorney General, Ambassador Great Britain, and the mayor of Boston.
See, I didn't know that. I know Kennedy was related to the mayor of Boston. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, both had been boat captains. Both Lincoln and Kennedy were second children.
Wow.
While in the White House, each president had a family of 3 children, and both lost a child through death. Doesn't say how.
Yeah, see, I didn't know.
Each president in his 30s married a socially prominent 24-year-old girl who spoke French fluently.
See, you found out more than me.
Yeah, after what we're allowed in the fatal shot. After both assassins, they were allowed in inconsistent claims that the fatal shot must have come from a different direction. Both were in the presence of another couple. Both were in the presence of another couple when they got shot. They got shot on a Friday before a major holiday.
You don't think that's whack? That's all I wanted to talk about that. You thought I was going to come up with a conspiracy. There wasn't a conspiracy. I was just like, that is so strange.
There are a lot of unusual parallels between the two.
Yeah, that's all I was bringing up when you were like, hey, you know, your conspiracy. I'm like, no, this is, I find that like so interesting, that the parallel in how that occurred.
No, I was more on the Titanic one.
Listen, I'm still standing on that. So listen, I'm done with my end of the stuff. Is there something you want to bring up before we hang it up?
Nope, I am done, but I just want to support my boy Rockefeller for a second because I didn't read his book. I also read J.P. Morgan's book when I was younger. But was going to say over numerous, including Yellowstone and several other state parks, Rockefeller funded the opening of these state parks that we still have and enjoy today. And over his lifetime, Rockefeller gave away $540 million.
That's nothing. 500 billionaire gave only that. Come on.
Yeah, but that's like every other rich person.
That's like if you break it down to a guy that's worth $10,000, it's probably $600.
Right, but let's keep in mind his contribution to society, giving people jobs.
Yeah, how many people he killed, funding the cancer organization so he can make them sicker. Yeah, okay.
And the sick part is they're still doing it today, even when they know better.
You know what? I want to give a shout out to one of my boys. I'm not going to say his name. He beat it. He's on his survival right now. He went through radiation and chemo 7 days a week, and it came back negative. So mad love for you, brother. I know you don't want people to know who you are, but I am so blessed to have you longer in my life, and mad love for you and your family. I'm so excited that you're still going to be here with me so we can cause some nonsense. Love you, brother. But other than that, Chris, I'm going to say my farewells as always, brother. Mad love for you too. And thank you so much for joining us at Security Tales. Chris, you want to say farewell?
Everyone have a great day. Figure out what we're going to talk about tomorrow, next week. And, as usual.
Thank you, Facebook. Yeah, let us know, YouTube. Let us know. That's it. Mad love for you all. Thank you for joining us today.